colleagues to mark this momentous occasion on the filing of the advice and consent ballot question with the New York City Board of Elections so that voters can make the decision about this existing proposal. I am here today with our Speaker, Adrienne Adams, and Council members Gail Brewer, Sandy Nurse, the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus, Justin Brennan, Crystal Hudson, the co-chair of the Black and Latino Asian Caucus, Sean Abreu, and Carmen de la Rosa, co-chair of the Women's Caucus, and I'm sure there are many more council members, and the Speaker is much better at remembering everybody's name at times of press conferences, so she will give everybody a quick shout-out. The Council is committed to advancing democracy and good government here in New York City, and we know that transparency and accountability are key to achieving this. That's why the advice and consent law was adopted by the Council near unanimous and bipartisan support. Advice and consent is a foundational process with democracy to ensure that the appointments of top government positions are based on qualifications and are transparent to the public that we represent. It is a safeguard to ensure a level of democratic accountability to protect and prioritize the public's interest in government. City agency commissioners are responsible for delivering city services and implementing policies that affect all New Yorkers, and they should be accountable to the public first and foremost. Advice and consent will help ensure that we have the best commissioners, those who are qualified and committed to the public. New Yorkers are now slated to exercise their right to vote on this advice and consent proposal. That right should not be tampered with or blocked, and it should concern all New Yorkers if the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission or any other entity attempts to deprive voters of this right. As veterans of city government like me well know, a Charter Revision Commission is a serious undertaking. It is essentially a full review of the city's entire constitution, which requires due diligence, sufficient time, and thorough engagement with the public and expert stakeholders. Yet, the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission has fallen short of these basic expectations established by previous commissions. The Mayor's Commission has been rushing to develop new proposals when an existing proposal for voters to consider already exists. It raises the question of what it is that the Mayor's Commission is trying to achieve and why is there such a fear of increased democracy. The Mayor's Charter Revision Commission is under no obligation to rush the review of the charter of the city charter and develop new proposals to change it. By law, the Commission has a term that can continue up until Election Day of next year, 2025. A commission that is seeking to put forward thoughtful proposals to improve our city government and democracy would use the entire term and offer new proposals for the 2025 general election and not rush to complete it for this year. New Yorkers deserve the right to exercise their vote on a matter that will impact their daily lives. For the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission to deny New Yorkers their opportunity to vote on advice and consent would be undemocratic. New Yorkers deserve to be the final vote on this matter. Don't get in the way of democracy and let New Yorkers vote. Now it's my honor to introduce the leader of our City Council, Speaker Adrienne Adams.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I am New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams, and I want to thank all of my colleagues for being here today. I am not going to call them out because there's a lot of them here today, and they all know who they are. And I thank you so much for being here, colleagues. Today is a day of empowerment for the residents of the city of New York. We are gathered here, united, as a legislative body to announce that today we are filing a ballot question with the Board of Elections for voters to decide in November's general election on whether to expand advice and consent for 20 additional agency commissioners. This body of representatives, democratically elected by New Yorkers across the city, overwhelmingly passed this law with bipartisan support. And now it is up to New Yorkers to exercise their vote and decide its fate. Nothing and no one, including the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission, should stand in the way of New Yorkers and their democratic right to vote on this proposal. Advice and consent is a foundational process within democracy that has been used to ensure our government prioritizes the public's interests over private interests and protect against the abuse of power in government. While our city has benefited from qualified commissioners leading city agencies, there are virtually no safeguards from the appointment of individuals who lack the qualifications and fall short of ethical standards from obtaining these top positions. This is bad for democracy, this is bad for government, and this is bad for New Yorkers. New York City is an outlier and falls behind other cities and states when it comes to advice and consent for agency leaders, as many have already established it as law. Ensuring that top government positions remain beacons of public service rather than tools for personal or political enrichment, it is essential to serving all New Yorkers. For all the control that agency commissioners have over New Yorkers' daily lives, from their responsibility to deliver services for our parks, manage sanitation, and develop and preserve affordable housing, the need to safeguard and provide transparency in the appointment process is very critical. That's why the Council adopted the law and is placing it on the ballot for public to decide in this year's general election. I'm going to repeat that. That is why this Council overwhelmingly adopted the law and is placing it on the ballot for the public to decide in this year's general election. Our commissioners serve the people. It's only right that the public have insight, transparency, and protection for confirming the leaders of governmental agencies. Leadership matters, especially when agencies provide services that New Yorkers rely on for their safety and well-being. This process is how we get the best leaders. A transparent process strengthens accountability and trust in our government, which is needed more now than ever. Through this open process, New Yorkers can offer public testimony and learn about agency leaders. The current process leaves everyday residents with little awareness about who these important leaders are and how they impact their everyday lives. Council members can also ask questions to understand a nominee's qualifications. It also allows them to share relevant experiences of the people they represent to inform and prepare that nominee to navigate the challenges facing our city. A robust process benefits qualified nominees, offering them an early opportunity to build relationships across government, public trust, and confidence. They can also demonstrate their expertise and knowledge while learning about many issues they will be expected to address. As a city, we stand to benefit from this change that ensures agencies have the strongest leaders. At a time when the health of democracy is vulnerable to attack, it is even more important that New York City leads the nation to strengthen our democracy. The existing advice and consent proposal is pivotal to this mission, and an attempt to block the voters from exercising their right in the general election would be undemocratic. While the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission has yet to put forward a proposal, it has been rushing to create new proposals that change our city's constitution. The commission term runs until Election Day next year and has no legitimate reason to rush its work and present new proposals for this Election Day unless it simply is being used as a vehicle to disenfranchise voters. Today, as we file a ballot question with the Board of Elections, we all stand together to call on the Mayor's Charter Revision Commission not to block New Yorkers' democratic right to vote on this existing advice and consent proposal. Let New Yorkers decide. Let their voices be the final say. Come November, let democracy play out on the ballot, because this is democracy in action.
That's right.
Thank you. We now call on Councilmember Gail Brewer.
Thank you very much. I actually feel very, very strongly that this ballot proposal is put on the ballot in November. Let me tell you why. I have spoken to friends in Los Angeles and Chicago. For decades, they have had this kind of process. It doesn't get screwed up at the beginning of the year when you have many people coming as recommendations from the mayor. In one case, they have staggered, which is not what we have, but you end up with staggered because people don't get recommended immediately after the beginning of the term. Guess how many mayors I've been through? I know it. The second issue is that I was with now Attorney General, then Public Advocate Tish James, the author of the 2019 Charter Revision Panel. Completely different. We had it as a ballot initiative in the City Council. We voted on it, and it included representatives from all the different elected officials in the City of New York. It was much more diverse. Guess what? They came to consensus. Sal Albanese on the left at that point, recommended by the borough president of Brooklyn, a guy named Eric Adams, and the Republicans from Staten Island agreed that there should be advice and consent for the Corporation Council. And I think this is playing out correctly. Third, I feel very strongly the public has no idea who the hell these commissioners are. They come into office, they leave office, people don't know. And they're really important. I have to give this mayor credit. Many of these commissioners I've known for a long time, and they're very good. I know them longer than he does. They are excellent. They would pass muster. But the good news is that they must pass muster under our proposal when you have a process that the public could ask questions in addition to us. It would make for a better commissioners and a better process. Next, this Charter Revision Commission, which I have testified against, and today in the Daily News is an excellent op-ed by the head of the New York Civil Liberties Union saying the same thing. This is no way possible to have a Charter Revision Commission in 2 months. The commission that Tish James and I passed was a year and a half. Actually, de Blasio did the same damn thing. He tried to ram one in at the same time. So all mayors seem to do this. Wrong. It is wrong for the public. It's wrong for government. It's wrong for good government. So this commission in 2 months, in no way. I testified at the Manhattan. If there were, 30 people there, that's a lot, and in some there are only 3 people. The city council has hearings that have many more people, and that would happen if there was a process for determining advice and consent. So the city council is the place to have these discussions. That's it. That Charter Revision Commission could put something on next year if they want, have a longer discussion. I'm not crazy about how it was instituted, but that at least would work. So there's just no reason not to have this suggestion, this recommendation on the ballot for people to consider. That would be the way to go. And we're first in line, by the way, Mr. Mayor. We're way before your commission has come up with whatever they want to come up with. So I feel very, very strongly that this makes sense. It's being done around the country. It's being done in the proper fashion. And we did it previously with Republicans and Democrats coming to a consensus in the past. So this is not a new idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Brewer. Something that she said that is very important that should not be lost. Advice and consent is nothing new. This is something that has been going on for a very long time at the state level, at the federal level, in many, many, many large cities across this nation. New York City is an outlier, and people are wondering, what took you so long to do this? Today, we are answering that question, and we're going to get it done. Next, I call on Councilmember Sandy Nurse, co-chair of the Progressive Caucus.
So nice when we have a podium. Good morning. I'm Sandy Nurse. I am the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. I'm also here with my other co-chair, Councilmember Hanif, our vice chairs, Gutierrez and De La Rosa. And I just want to thank Speaker Adams for introducing and passing this legislation. It's important for New Yorkers to know that this legislation will make government better. Giving the council advice and consent powers for high-level appointments to critical agencies ensures that we have competent, qualified, and collaborative leaders running this city. It is going to create a better environment where the council and the administration have positive, productive working relationships, and that ultimately leads to better results and better outcomes for New Yorkers. This council has been working extremely hard to work for you and to work with this administration to be collaborative, to cooperate. And it's been us doing that. And on the other side, we've seen a lot of obstacles to that, such as trying to put barriers between our communication between the council and our agency heads. And there's no reason, as the speaker said, there's no reason that this should not be on the ballot in November. The council works for you. We were voted by you. We are here to express your will. And when your will is obstructed, you should take that personally. You should feel personally offended because they are blocking your will. We are working to make a better environment for the council and the administration. And I think we really just need to call this Charter Review Commission what it is, which is an ill-intentioned effort to stop this law from being on the ballot. This is an effort to prevent you from choosing. This is your choice, and the mayor is working to take that choice away from you. You ultimately get to decide. Should the council have more say on who runs our city or not? And that's the simple truth. So when this is being obstructed, when there are people trying to put other proposals on the ballot, just know that this is an effort to prevent you from having a say in this. And so I stand with my colleagues in demanding that this measure be put on the ballot, demanding that New Yorkers get to have their choice, and just to reaffirm that local democracy is the bedrock of our society. And right now we have a bigger mission in November, and we really don't need to be distracted by having to fight to get this on the ballot. This really should be something that we are not spending our time on. We have an important piece of work to do this November. We are in a moment in time where our national democracy is under threat, and any effort to undermine local governing institutions like the council is aligning with far-right movements and fascist movements in this country. So I really hope that this Charter Review Commission takes this seriously. I hope this mayor hears us and gives New Yorkers the choice that they deserve and they have the right to have this November. So thank you.
We will now call up Councilmember Justin Brennan.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Look, there's no reason why good government should be so hostile. There's nothing hostile about good government. Ultimately, when you give the council more power, you're giving the people more power. And so much of what we're doing now is also to strengthen this institution for future classes in the council. This year we fought really hard and we talked a lot about baselining items in the budget. That means that future councils and even future mayors won't have to fight over some of this bedrock funding. Doing advice and consent is for a similar reason. It's to make the council stronger because you ultimately make the people stronger. On paper, the city council is the co-equal branch of government. But we have to fight every day to make that a reality, and we have to be vigilant. And doing advice and consent ultimately empowers the public, it empowers voters, and that's why this council believes in it so strongly, and that's why we need to get it done, and that's why there's nothing hostile about it. There should be nothing hostile about putting this ballot question out and for the public to decide. Thank you very much.
All right, Justin. All right.
Next, we will hear from Councilmember Crystal Hudson.
Thank you. I'm speaking on behalf of the Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus, of which I'm a co-chair with Councilmember Kevin Riley. And last year, more than 4.5 million New Yorkers went to the polls to cast their vote and decide who should represent them in government, including their city council member. Once elected, we were tasked with passing legislation to address major issues facing our communities, ensuring the city has a budget that prioritizes the needs of our most marginalized, and using the full powers of the council to make our city a fair and just place for everyone. To date, we've done just that. And every step of the way, we've been held accountable. We hold public hearings on legislation and the budget, we host town halls, and we field phone calls, emails, social media DMs, and office visits from constituents, and all of that is without an onerous and unnecessary form to fill out, I should add. Our constituents then go to the ballot box every few years to decide whether we get another chance at doing the job we love. That's true accountability and transparency. Yet city agency commissioners, the individuals who run the complex bureaucracy that supports all 8.5 million New Yorkers, get to just walk in the door and stay as long as they're able. The only one who gets to decide on their credentials is one person, and that's the mayor. Last time I checked, that's how a monarchy works. Only a single person, the sovereign, has the authority over the government they rule. If only one person picks who runs their agencies, there can be no accountability. And that's why advice and consent is so important. Nearly every other jurisdiction does this already, as we've heard, including smaller cities like Los Angeles and Chicago. And even here in New York City, we do this for about a dozen positions already. This proposal just expands it to another 20. There's no reason the people who run our city agencies shouldn't be held accountable to the public they serve. Now, attempts to rush revisions to the city charter undermine this effort to expand accountability and transparency. Our city's charter is the foundation of our government, effectively our Constitution. Adding potential items on the ballot that have been raised during a handful of sparsely attended meetings overseen by the mayor's handpicked appointees without robust input from the public undermines the good governance foundation of the Charter Revision Commission's mission. There's no need to rush. The Commission has the authorization to operate until Election Day 2025, when voters who are currently swept up with deciding how they will vote for the presidency will be laser focused on New York City government and in a position to decide on their pick of a number of city officials, including the mayor, comptroller, public advocate, and council member. More time means more community input, better ideas, and more support. The Charter Revision Commission must allow the Council's advice and consent law on the November ballot and step back from interfering with the will of the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who gets this?
And finally, we'll hear from Councilmember Shawn Abreu, followed by Councilmember Carmen de la Rosa.
Hello, good morning, everyone. As you've just heard, we have all the arguments in the world when it comes to expanding advice and consent, which will bring nominating processes out of the shadows and make our government more accountable to the people we serve. We can listen to the founders of our country who enshrined advice and consent in our Constitution. We can look to legislatures in our very state and all around the United States who use this standard democratic practice, making New York City the outlier. But I think the best argument of all for advice and consent comes from the mayor himself, a mayor who has prided himself on being open to the entire city. In his own words, he says, "It is our goal to be as transparent, to make sure that we regain the faith and trust in government." And he also said, "A free society is best maintained when the public is aware of and has access to government actions and documents. And the more open a government is with its people, the greater the understanding and participation of the public in government." He also said, and I quote, "There's nothing more important to me than accountability, transparency, and effective governance." No one has made the case for greater transparency in government better than the mayor himself. We ought to listen to him, and we ought to let New Yorkers decide at the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I want to thank the speaker and her leadership team for taking this on. This is the fight that we have to fight in this moment when we are looking for government to do what we were elected to do, to be transparent and communicate with our constituents what is happening in City Hall. I'm here representing the Women's Caucus, and our co-chair, Julie Menon, is with us as well. You know, as council members, Public engagement is paramount to the work that we do every single day. And as we see the rights of people across this nation actually being put to the side through different decisions, whether they be court decisions, whether it's legislatures taking away rights for people, it is incumbent upon New York City to not only catch up, but to do the right thing and make sure that our public is engaged. Here in our city, we represent communities that are diverse. In my case, I represent a community that is a largely immigrant community, a community that speaks mostly Spanish, but also other languages and other dialects in our city. So there are linguistic, technical, and other accessibility barriers that can deter everyday New Yorkers from participating fully in our democracy. It is our responsibility to make sure that we are bringing those people into the halls of power. And this ballot proposal will make sure that every New Yorker who has the right to cast a ballot in November will give New York City the right to advice and consent. A right that, as we heard our colleagues already say so eloquently, already exists for major cities across our nation. And so it is time for us to catch up. In addition to that, we have a charter revision that is complicated and tedious, and it will take additional efforts to ensure that everyday New Yorkers understand and can be actively engaged in the future of our city's operation. We are not just legislating for today, we are legislating for the future of our city. Providing them with more time than just a surface interaction and a preliminary level of education and engagement is necessary, especially with a process as complex and as significant as revising the city charter. And so we are here today because we stand united with our speaker and all of us here to say that this proposal must be on the ballot in November in order to make sure that public engagement is robust and is real. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to take on-topic questions.
Great question. Thank you so much for that question. This is already a law which was passed by the City Council, we already said by an overwhelming bipartisan majority. This law has to be put on the ballot, on November's ballot, so that all New Yorkers have the opportunity to vote using their democracy, to vote their voice. What advice and consent does, once again, is that it will give more openness and more transparency to bringing on new commissioners to our agencies, about 20 more. So this doesn't even expand to the over 80 agencies. This is an initial expansion of 20, which we already has, as someone says, over about a dozen already. So this expands what we already do in the City Council. What this allows the public to do is to vet these nominees who want these agency positions, these leadership positions, to hear them out, hear their credentials, hear questions from the council as far as their credentials are concerned, to make sure that New Yorkers are aware. So in that essence, we are advising the public as to, and the nominees are advising the public as to who they are, what they bring to the table, and why they should be afforded the privilege to serve in whatever capacity. The Charter Commission has the authority to put forth any proposals that they deem are necessary or feasible to the interests of New Yorkers on the ballot as well. Per the charter, this body, the Charter Revision Commission body, has the power to circumvent anything that the New York City Council may have as a determination on the ballot. So if the commission decides to put forth any proposal that will automatically kick off anything that the City Council has proposed, even if it is law already. So that will automatically knock off this law and giving the people the right to exercise their voice in November.
So do you think putting this forth, knowing it could be knocked off, are you anticipating the Charter Review Commission could not have a ballot proposal or mess something up, or is it show of force and at least maybe to garner some support from New Yorkers to
Nothing is ever futile when it comes to the law. Even if the Charter Commission puts forth any proposal, 1, 2, 3, or 50, this bill will still remain, and we will have an opportunity in a special election or other elections going forward to put forth this law in action so that democracy can take place in the city of New York. Do we know that?
And then my other question to Katie's point, why not just wait then for a special election? Why not wait for next year to do this if it feels like you're not going to be able to get it onto the
Well, thank you for the question. We cannot wait for democracy to take place. It is incumbent upon this body to put forth democracy in the way of openness, transparency. That's what New Yorkers deserve. Once again, advice and consent is not new. It's something that has been around a long time, and it's up to us to be responsible enough to catch up with everybody else to give New Yorkers the voice that they deserve when it comes to the leadership in the agencies that serve them best. So we don't feel that it would be feasible to wait. We are hoping that this Charter Commission will take the necessary time, as Councilmember Brewer so eloquently says. Listen, it takes years to go through the volumes of the New York City Charter, of our Constitution. To think that it could be poured over in a matter of weeks or a couple of months to us doesn't make any sense of all. To understand what the intricacies of this document that governs the entire city of New York means, much less put forth rushed proposals in the interest of maybe some, I don't even know, but it doesn't even make sense to put forth rushed proposals. The people deserve more than that.
This is the public game. Privately, have you asked the mayor to delay or to kill the Charter Commission?
I have not.
I missed the first question, so apologies if it's covered you probably already have, but is there any sense of how soon a special election could happen if it comes to that? And on the process of that, does the mayor need to call the special election?
Well, we haven't spoken about timelines as far as the special election is concerned. We are really trying to deal with real time and trying to get this message out. As you see right now and we'll see in the upcoming days, we want to get this message out to New Yorkers, how significant this law is and how significant it is that they have the opportunity to vote on it this November.
And the process, the mayor needs
The process, we'll talk to you offline about the process itself. Yeah.
Kind of going on with Jeff's question, I mean, have you had any private conversations with the mayor about maybe some kind of compromise that can be reached on this where both sides are happy?
I have not, and it is because the charter is already in full swing. We believe that the charter was put forth to do their work, so to speak. There have not been any offline conversations about it. The charter was picked to do exactly whatever they will do. We are hoping once again that they will take the time that is needed to pour through the Constitution of the city of New York, the governing document for over 8 million people of the city. That would be the right thing to do for the people of the city of New York. If there are any revisions to our charter, they are so significant that they need to be thoughtfully processed and not rushed through in a matter of weeks or months. Thank you. Thank you all for bearing the heat with us.